Rev your engines and fasten your seatbelts. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, keeping you up to date on everything going on this season at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Welcome, race fans, to another edition of Thunder Talk. I'm excited to introduce to you our guest for this week's edition of Thunder Talk, a young racer who has been steadily improving through the 2020 season and his career behind the wheel. Cody Rollinger, driver of the number 18 from the Jailhouse Saloon USRA Hobby Stock Division at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Cody, first of all, welcome to Thunder Talk.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
You know, I talk about how you have been steadily improving through the 2020 season. As I look at your stats, it's been a bit of an up and down year. It's been either feast or famine. You've enjoyed some really good finishes for you. You've also had a couple of DNFs and some finishes near the tail end of the field. But when that car is running strong, it looks like it is very fast, very stable, and you as a driver are looking very comfortable behind the wheel of that number 18.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that every night that we've actually finished, I believe we've had a top five, which going into this season, in my now 5 years of racing, we haven't actually had a top five. So now, going out every week, contending for possibly a win has just been awesome.
You know, a trio of heat race wins, such as you've accumulated already this year, is a pretty good boost for morale, isn't it? Crossing the line first, getting that checkered flag, that makes you look that much more forwards towards the evening's feature, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've just been getting more comfortable in this car. The first few weeks I was trying to lay back a little bit. As you know, we got a new smoke chassis for this season, and I just didn't want to tear it up the first couple weeks. And since we've kind of been getting more comfortable in it, we've kind of been coming to life a little bit more. We've been a little bit more sporty in the heat race. In most cases, you got to make either the top 4 or the top 3, and that's the primary goal, to make the redraw. But that extra bit there, getting the heat race win, it's always nice.
You talked about some success that you've had come feature time in the 2020 season with this number 18 of yours. And if we look back to the River City Rumble, second place finish right behind one of the best in your division, Travis Krause. I mean, that was quite a run for you, coming from about the 4th row is where you started that race. And you were able to not only battle for the lead, but run up there with the big guns.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of my year so far. Being able to run out front. I was tracking down Steve Dwyer, who was actually in the lead, and I saw that green number 01X peak below me. And I don't want to say that I knew that he probably had a faster car, because we were side by side there for a couple laps. But I didn't really want to give him too much grief for trying to get past me. I wanted to hold my line and kind of see where that would take me. So, because I was gaining a little bit of ground on the top side. I didn't really want to be up there. The bottom was where I really wanted to be. However, they were all running down there in front of me, so I had to try something a little different if I wanted to actually maybe go for the win or something like that.
You had mentioned earlier that this year you're enjoying piloting this new smoke chassis that you're racing, and I know it's almost impossible to zero in on just one thing that creates success, but 2020 seems to be going so much better than have years in the past. So is it this chassis? Is that kind of the magic part of the puzzle that has really elevated you up to running at or near the front of the field this year?
Yes, this was the missing piece that we've been looking for the last couple of years. I was getting pretty down on myself, especially last year, just because I really thought that I was kind of there as a driver. I was coming along, and I kept telling myself, it has to be the car. And we got into this new one. We have the same motor, same shock package, and actually the same setup. And this car has just been going a lot better. Partly because it weighs a lot less. I can set it up how I want to. And, we're really sporty in the smoke chassis.
How are you enjoying the way that the track has laid out? And I am speaking about Mississippi Thunder Speedway. It's notorious this year for presenting at least 3 wide action. A solid 3 grooves every week. There's either the extreme low groove one or two, sometimes three grooves in the middle, and then another groove way up at the top. Are you liking the way that the car is performing and the way that you're adapting to the changing racing surfaces this year?
Yeah, every week is a little bit different. Primarily, I like to be down on the bottom, which has been really good to me this year. Now, this last week at the River City Rumble, they farmed the track right before we went out, and of course the Hornets weren't there, so it was basically a clean slate all the way across the board. So we could really run anywhere. I know some of them guys are running way up in the top, some of them are running right in the middle, and then some way down on the bottom. So it's really awesome to have such a racy surface, and for most of the year it has been very racy. And it's been very smooth as well. Bob, Tim, and the crew, they do a really good job of keeping that track in tip-top shape. Tyrone, all the guys down there that put in the extra effort to make sure that the drivers have an awesome track to race on every week.
It's great to see your program coming around and you enjoying some success. Not only are you a great racer, but you are also a great PR man, and I'm not even joking about that. You do a wonderful job representing not only your own racing efforts, not only racing in the area, but especially those local and area businesses who support you. They came on board in years past when maybe you weren't quite the contender, for checkered flags and potential feature wins, but they've stuck with you, and now they're being rewarded. So let's give them a shout out and run through a list of everybody who is supporting Rollinger Racing for the 2020 season.
I got quite a bit of help. I got a laundry list of sponsors on my car, and most of them have been with me since the very beginning. And like you said, I wasn't nothing to brag about a couple of years ago, and up until even last year, I kind of felt that way. But they've stuck with me, and I'm so grateful for that. So my sponsors for the 2020 season, of course, I got Smoke Chassis, Mensink Racing Products, River City Heating and Air Conditioning, Carfield's Kennels out of Elgin, River City Manufacturing, Mike Sherman Plumbing and Heating, Culvers of Winona, Wayland's at Westfield, Scenic Landscape, Venom Builds in Lewiston, Scott R. Wren Construction, Farmers Insurance, Dave Jensen Agency out of Winona, Smiley's Repair, Bake Shop Catering and Food Service in Winona, J&J Rubbish, Kick-Ass Beef Jerky, Eagle View Bar and Grill, Ken's Auto Body, Coffee House Real Estate, Winona Homes, Mankato Bar, TJ's Cleaning Service, and last but not least, Hank's Welding.
What a list. It is so wonderful to see that many local and area businesses supporting a USRA hobby stock at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. I want to change the subject just a little bit, not too much, because I really enjoy focusing on you and your efforts. But you are not the first in line from the Rollinger family as a third-generation driver. You have seen racing from the time you were just a little tyke, right? So how much does just kind of being raised in the racing world help somebody succeed in this sport?
Well, I think that's a large portion of it. Not only did I kind of get my feet wet in it watching my uncles race throughout the years. My dad, he raced before I was born. But he would take me to the racetrack every week, whether it was Fox Ridge Speedway over in Arcadia when when the old Tri-Oval Speedway was not up and running, and then we eventually came back to Tri-Oval, and then that became Mississippi Thunder. But we were going there every single Friday night. We'd go up to Deer Creek sometimes. So I think that my biggest thank you has to go to my dad for getting me to the track to watch my uncles race. And then, of course, once I said I wanted to start racing, everybody was kind of on board with helping out. My grandpa, he's been a huge help to me. He builds my motors for me. He's been doing it for a long time. And then all my uncles help out in some way, shape, or form. My Uncle Scott helped build my first car with my dad. My Uncle Hank has helped with setup. My Uncle Jeff owns Smiley's Repairs, so he's a sponsor of mine. So everybody's still involved. And it's been really awesome to have that kind of support.
One of the other things that I like doing when I'm at the racetrack is just to walk through the pits before the races and watch everybody setting up and getting ready for the evening's program. And I notice every single night, when I walk past your hauler and your car, getting prepared. It's never just you standing there. There's always somebody with you, family members, relatives. It really is a bit of a group effort, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. My fiance, Mackenzie, basically her entire family comes every week to help out. Her younger brother, Hunter, who was also a racer in the hobby stock division, he was my main pit guy up until last year when I let him take my car out for hot laps one night, and he got out of it and he said, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to get a car and I want to start racing." And so now we have 2 cars kind of up and running, and we have a whole bunch of help. I think on a given night we probably have anywhere from 7 to 10 people in our pit, and sometimes even more. And it does definitely take a whole bunch of people to do it. And most of the time it's more or less for the emotional support. When you have a bad heat race, and you get out of the car and they're saying, "Well, go get him in the future. You got this." Or if you break something in the heat race, you have plenty of hands to help get you fixed and ready to go again for the future. That's the biggest part about it for me.
Well, let me circle back to the topic that we started with. You've been enjoying some success this year for the 2020 season. Handful of top 5 finishes and that very strong and hard-fought second-place finish at the River City Rumble. It's a bit of a tricky question, but if you were not quite able to get into victory lane at the end of a feature for the 2020 season, would you still consider what we've seen so far a successful 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. This season has definitely been a success for me. If everything were to go wrong from this point until the end of the season, I'd probably still have to consider that a successful year, just because we have accomplished a lot more this year than I have since I started racing 5 years ago. So we have definitely went above and beyond this year and kind of made up for all of the lackluster years that we've had previously.
Well, I tell you one thing, it sure is refreshing to watch somebody come up through the ranks and learn the division that they're competing in, such as you have, and then start to really taste that success like you are. It's wonderful watching you get to that quote-unquote next level of your career behind the wheel of this hobby stock. Congratulations on what you've done already this year. And my friend, best of luck for the remainder of the 2020 season. Thank you very much for joining us this week on Thunder Talk.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Dan.
That was Thunder Talk, keeping you up to date on everything going on at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
You ever notice that when you're on a fishing trip, you drive your boat all the way to the other side of the lake because you think that's where the best fishing is? And the people staying at the cabins on that side of the lake, well, they come and fish where your cabin is. You don't have to drive a long ways to catch the big fish. And at Arcadia Motors, you don't have to drive a long ways to get the best deal on a new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram truck. The best deals are right in the bay next to your cabin. Take the short, scenic drive to Arcadia Motors. ArcadiaDodge.com.